Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time here. I am your host, G.I. Wingnut. I'm hoping the audio was better this time. I got some feedback that things just could have been louder on one or two of my later videos. So hopefully I've got the settings figured out. And welcome to another episode of 1952 and a planned deception. We are continuing into this program. Like I stated, this is episode 7 of the series, which I thought was interesting because today's topic is in particular about Scientology. In the interest of trying to keep things as short as possible, time-wise for this video, there are a lot of things that I will be making reference to, but in there I will be providing a PDF. I will be making a PDF available with all the show notes after I get the video posted. Or I will be posting it with. I'll see about. I'll figure out a way to get it attached to something. On YouTube, it'll be under my community tab. I'll figure out a way to get it posted to. What I'll just do is post a link to my WordPress account and publish all the show notes over there. Okay, real quick, we're gonna go over here. Yeah, I'm on my favorite browser, and yes, I use the AI to pull things together real quick because I've figured out this actually kind of helps. But I will be going through and breaking a bunch of this stuff down because I'm guessing that it pulled a lot of this information from Scientology resources, which does not surprise me. The report reads, and I'm not gonna read all the words. I hit all the big details here at the top. L. Ron Hubbard was a prolific writer, truth. Inventor, no. He was a straight up thief. I'll address that more later. And founder of the Church of Scientology, truth. He was born, we'll get into that. Marked by fascination with science fiction and adventure. Yes, that's very true. His most notable achievement is the development of Scientology. All right, I have a quote from him that I really don't want to share, but I'm not going to. Well, I'm not going to show the meme, but actually, I'll try to remember to bring the quote up later. A system of beliefs and practices that aim to help individuals achieve spiritual enlightenment and self-improvement. Yeah, no, no. Moving right along. He introduced the concept, a precursor to Dianetics, the concept of Dianetics, a precursor to Scientology, in his 1950 book, 1950 book, Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health. Yeah, no. The book became a bestseller because, yeah, it got publicized. We see that. We see because of this little connection with this group of people over here in 1952 that it seems that there was a plan of deception. So Hubbard's life and work was marked by a series of adventures and accomplishments. Okay. He served in the United States Navy during World War II, truth, and was injured in combat. No. Which led to his diagnosis as permanently disabled. No. Yes, L. Ron Hubbard served in the Navy. I'll make reference to a video later to where you can get all the background information. But L. Ron Hubbard apparently was dropping depth charges on a piece of driftwood because he thought it was an enemy submarine, and he thought his ship's gunners needed some firing range practice, so started shelling Mexican island, thinking it was an enemy stronghold. Anyway, it was bizarre. He did not serve distinctively in the United States Navy. Hubbard's humanitarian contributions are also notable, primarily because they're connected directly to the United Nations. More on that later. And the way to happiness. He also developed a non-religious moral code, the way to happiness. I'll address that later. L. Ron Hubbard's legacy is complex and multifaceted. No, it promotes sexual SA. Um, and in his little world, there's no such thing as children. Everybody's a 76 million-year-old Titan, just living in another body. You just drop the meat suit and pick up a new one. So there is no such thing as age of body. Everybody is the same age spiritually. So it can get pretty psychotic pretty quick from there, and I will be pointing to references along the way. So his legacy is a bunch of broken brains and broken bodies, and yeah, I will be doing a lot more in relation to Scientology another time, deep diving into it. But let's take a look at these key facts real quick. Born March 13th, 1911 in Tilden, Nebraska, USA. Stick a pin in that when I end up talking about Werner von Braun later in the series. Uh, let's see. Founder of the Church of Scientology, introduced the concept of Dianetics in 1950, developed the principles of Scientology, served in the United States Navy during World War II, founded various various social programs, including drug rehabilitation centers and literacy programs that we're going to dive into. That I've got lined up for sure. This is why I'm going to be providing show notes for outside information. I got to try to keep this short. But there's a lot to this. Developed a non-religious moral code, the way to happiness. I have an outside source to that information as well. What that's all about. It's not good. It might sound good, but it's not good. Like so much of this other stuff that Laura over at Magical Mystery Church has been untangling with the Alice Bailey stuff, and this is directly connected with all that. Anyway, and the last point they bring out is author of over 5,000 writings and 3,000 recorded lectures. Uh, yeah, so there's that. And let's go ahead and take a look at the next tab. Well, on the next tab, I've got the principles of Scientology pulled up here. Thanks again to the AI assist on my browser. I like using Brave. I really like using Brave. I know I'm not sponsored. I just appreciate the browser. Anyway, the principles of Scientology. Scientology is a belief system that was developed by L. Ron Hubbard in the mid 20th century. Okay, let's just jump down here to the core beliefs. Hang on. Let me try to care. Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll get to key principles in a moment. Core beliefs. The human being is an immoral spiritual being. Scientology teaches that humans are not just physical beings, but rather immortal spiritual beings known as Thetans that reside within the physical body. Number 2, the goal of life is spiritual freedom. The ultimate goal of Scientology is to achieve spiritual freedom, which is achieved through the understanding and application of the principles of Scientology. Number 3, the universe is a messed universe. Scientology teaches that the universe is a physical universe, known as the messed universe. which is separate from the spiritual universe. Let's see, it's matter, energy, space, and time. That's what the MEST stands for. Yeah, I've looked at this stuff way too much, I guess. The Thetan is the person. Scientology teaches that the Thetan is the person and that the physical body and mind are merely tools or vehicles for the Thetan. Number 5, the Thetan has lived many lives. Scientology teaches that the Thetan has lived many lives and that these past lives can be recalled and understood through the process of auditing. I really don't want to get into that. I'll refer you to outside resources that I've learned from. Well, okay, I see on the practices real quick. There's going to be some mention there. So the key principles. Number 1, the axiom of Scientology. The axiom of Scientology is the idea that, quote, a being is not an accident and that his life is sought by him as a whole being. Number 2, the law of 8-80. The law of 8-80 states that, quote, the universe is a vast interconnected web of energy and matter, and that everything in the universe is connected and interdependent, end quote. The law of karma. The law of karma states that, quote, every action has consequences and that the consequences of an action will be experienced by the individual who performed the action, end quote. Number 4, the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect states that, quote, every action has a cause and every effect has a cause, and that the cause of an effect is the effect of a prior cause, end quote. Nice little mental gymnastics there, right? Practices, auditing. Auditing is a process of spiritual counseling that involves the use of a device called an e-meter to help individuals recall and understand their past lives and to achieve spiritual enlightenment. Okay, so an e-meter is it, he did L. Ron Hubbard did not invent it. He actually stole it from Carl Jung. It's a galvanometer. It's part of a truth detecting or lie detecting system by utilizing a current that's put through the body while the individual is being audited is holding these two metal cans, and there's a meter that will register the resistance to the current going through the body, and that's how they adjust their questions. It's a galvanometer, and it's not. There's nothing spiritual about it. Number 2, practices on the practices list. Training. Scientology can offer a range of training programs and courses that help individuals learn and apply the principles of Scientology. Number 3, self-improvement. Scientology emphasizes the importance of self-improvement and personal growth and provides the tools and techniques to help individuals achieve their goals and improve their lives. I got a couple of comments on that later. Comparison to other religions. Scientology has been compared to other religions such as Buddhism and Christianity and has been criticized for its similarities to these religions. However, Scientology is distinct from these religions in the beliefs and practices and is considered a separate and distinct belief system. Yeah, okay, so we'll take a look at that here in just a moment. Okay, before I really jump much further into this, I want to run some background information for you. We've got this thing up here called Scientology Operation Snow White. So, Operation Snow White was a systemic attempt by the Church of Scientology to infiltrate and steal classified files on Scientology from the governments all over the world. The operation was launched in 1973 and was aimed at targets in particular countries or international organizations. Hold up, time out. Again, I think the AI is drawing from Scientology resources because it was this happened in 1973 as the report is saying, but it's in direct response to Scientology having lost their tax exempt status in 1968. And L. Ron Hubbard stewed on that for 5 years. He successfully, Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard's plan through Scientology successfully infiltrated the sovereign governments of 17 countries and three international organizations. So was aimed at targets, and it was, and it succeeded. The program consisted of a number of sub-programs, each with a different code name, aimed at correcting what the church believed was false information being circulated about Scientology and its founder, L. Ron Hubbard, a convicted felon. I'm not going to get into that at the moment. That's part of the lore of the whole thing. Not what I'm not getting into. I just don't have time in this one. But on the background of this, as early as 1960, L. Ron Hubbard had proposed that Scientologists should infiltrate government departments by securing jobs within various branches. The church decided to take its own action, which was unfortunately a foolish one. The decision was to infiltrate and steal any documents in government offices that were deemed false and plant different false information. This was a highly illegal operation that was exposed by the FBI in 1977. This is around the time period. Okay, the operation. The operation was executed by the church's legal and investigative arm, the Guardian Office, under the direction of Hubbard's wife, Mary Sue Hubbard. Stick a pin in that because that later evolved into the Office of Special Affairs, or OSA, which was just a renaming of the Guardian Office when Mike Render took over. I wish he would speak out more about that. I can appreciate the work that he did to bring this to the world's attention. There's some drama in the community. I'm not going to get into it. But the Guardian's Office, if I remember correctly, hatched one scheme after another to discredit and unnerve Scientology's foes across the country. Yeah, it's called fair gaming. Stalking with like private investigators, harassment, phone calls and such, wiretapping. The operation involved breaking and entering, theft, and wiretapping, among other illegal activities. Yeah, fair gaming, bad stuff. I don't have that set up in the links, but you can check it out. I'll try to remember to pull up a reference on that real quick later. Consequences. The exposure of Operation Snow White led to the arrest and imprisonment of the senior leadership of the church's intelligence arm, the Guardian's Office, in the U.S. and Canada. 11 high-ranking Scientologists, including Mary Sue Hubbard, were given serious prison time. The operation painted the entire Church of Scientology in an extremely negative light, you think, and earned them a significant negative opinion, rightfully so. So, in the aftermath, the church's attempt to infiltrate the government and steal classified files was a major embarrassment and led to a significant decline in the church's reputation. The church's efforts to infiltrate the government were exposed, and the church's leaders were imprisoned, except for L. Ron Hubbard, who went on the run. The church's tax exempt status was also revoked. The church's tax exempt status was revoked in 1968 and was renegotiated into being restored by negotiations between. Let's see, that was in 1993 during the Clinton administration between the then secretary or director, I guess, of the IRS, secretary of the IRS, director of the IRS, and the other side of that table was Mike Render, Marty Rathbun, and David Miscavige when they renegotiated the tax exempt status that exists now. So that was not part of the aftermath. That was what kicked the whole thing off. And it was forced to pay millions of dollars in back taxes. No, 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 no. Good Lord, anyway. I will give you links to other stuff later that you can go look at. Anyway, the legacy of Operation Snow White, it says, is considered one of the most significant and far-reaching scandals in the history of the Church of Scientology. Yeah, no. Wrong again. There's way worse scandals being exposed now, and I'm glad to be a part of the fight. It highlights the church's willingness. I'm sorry, that was an aside on my part. Back to the last bit of this. It highlights the church's willingness to engage in illegal activities to achieve its goals and its disregard for the law and ethical standards. The operation has had a lasting impact on the church's reputation and has led to ongoing controversy and criticism. Yeah, and that controversy and criticism and the attention on it and the awareness of it is just becoming more and more obvious. So, let's go ahead and jump off into this stuff real quick so I can get some explanations out. I'm going to try to wrap this up pretty quick. Like I said, I've got a number of things that I'm just going to make reference to that will be in the show notes. In this particular case, I'm at the How We Help tab over at the Scientology webpage. And I'm going to run down through these and then kind of explain them a little bit as I progress. I'm going to go through the list and then I'm going to get into things. Just to give you a little background here. And I'm not going to, let's just look at the list. The Way to Happiness Foundation International, Applied Scholastics International, Criminon, Narconon Drug Rehab Centers, The Truth About Drugs, United for Human Rights, Citizens Commission on Human Rights, and Volunteer Ministers Program. So let's go ahead and run on through these. I think I have them lined up in order. So we've got the Way to Happiness. Supposed to restore honor and self-respect. Stunning 2/3. I'm not going to get it. Okay. So a stunning 2/3 of the world's governments are riddled with serious corruption. Okay. Almost a quarter of today's emerging leaders are convinced they need to behave unethically to get ahead. Okay. Maybe that's plausible. I mean, I don't like putting maybe they're given pretty good generalizations. And that's how they get you. To reverse this decline and restore fundamental morals and values, L. Ron Hubbard wrote The Way to Happiness, a common sense guide to better living. I'm not even going to go into it really, primarily because of the fact that I've got a video over here that I'm going to refer to, and it's in the show notes, but it's about how the delusional Scientologist thinks this will solve the drug addiction problem, or will solve drug addiction. And it's that way to happiness thing, but at the same time, this particular individual thinks that book alone, is going to save the homeless and the drug addicted in Vancouver. Anyway, video link will be in the show notes, and I'm going to go ahead and shift over to this next tab, get some others closed, and keep going. Okay, so up next we've got applied scholastics, achieving literacy and education. No, they don't. It's brainwashing. If you want to go and look at their webpage, you can just look up. You can look this up on your own. I'm not going to go too far into it, but it's primarily because also going to be in the show notes. There's this other Eyes to See 33 Scientology infiltrates schools, an article from 2019. Scientology controversial push to enter schools with learning materials, including in Australia. That's applied scholastics. It sounds good. Tom Cruise promotes it as having cured his dyslexia. I'm sorry, dyslexia doesn't work that way. It's dyslexia comes from a way the brain is wired, and it creates the need for a different way of learning. At least for me, it has. Also, along with the whole applied scholastics, there's going to be a link in the show notes to this video from Serge Del Mar. He's an ex-Scientologist. He was in the Sea Org as a kid, and he was one of the kids that did the auditing of adults. It's horrible stuff. I'm not going to go into it. But anyway, talking about Mace Kingsley School and the problems there that are there for the kids. Link in the show notes. Let's see. Let me see what I got up next. So up next is Criminon, building a world free of crime. Well, they're saying 3 decades of growth in America. If you want to read it, pause. For the sake of time efficiency, you see, Criminon is a Scientology program. Here's why it's a concern to me. You see, this is from the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Justice Programs. Criminon program, effective criminal rehabilitation. This is the same program that's behind that whole second chance pardoning program that became a thing. I think it was, I don't remember when. I'll have to do another video on some of the histories of some of this stuff. But yeah, so there's proof positive for me that as of 1993, Criminon and Scientology and the Department of Justice were in bed together. Derived from 1952. Narcanon, I'm going to go ahead and hit this. Saves lives from addiction. Yeah, no. They run a Scientology program there that's called the Purification Rundown. And essentially all that means is heavy doses of high doses of vitamins, including excessive doses of niacin, and which is dangerous, and then 5-hour sessions in a sauna. to purge the body of the drugs, allegedly. And they do this to kids too. And this is not good. This is why people die, as evidenced by things like this other article from Eyes to See 33. Narcanon Scientology. My mind shattered into a million pieces. This is from 2024. Which leads me over to this article. Scientology's Narcanon Rehab Center moved from National Health Service website. This coming from England. Great work over there, guys. Actually, really great work. This is a Scientology business. Lincoln that will be in the show notes. Alex does a lot of really good work, and I've learned a lot from him. But it's because of the investigations that have gone on into Narcanon, because deaths that have happened in their facilities, because they're doing the purification rundown. There's more to it than that as well. Assaults, that whole lack of minding boundaries and such. So, supporting drug-free education and prevention initiatives. No, they they don't believe in psychiatric care. They don't believe in psychiatric help. They don't believe in pharmaceutical products either. It's all about clearing the patents off your body. Anyway, I digress. Global education, advancing universal human rights, which, it's kind of a program I can get along with, but it's when any means that meet the goal by any means necessary. I have issues with that concept. But another one of the problems that I have with these humanitarian efforts is, like, for example, Youth for Human Rights International is a Scientology front group. And they're the ones that were helping get the education stuff into the Australian schools back, back in 2009. Eyes to See 33 has the link, or has the video where she reads out the article. Fantastic work on her part over there. I can't grind on it like that, like she is anymore. I've got other fish to fry. Restoring Dignity. Citizens Commission on Human Rights. Yeah, that's directly in conjunction with Scientology and the United Nations. Scientology Foundation gains special consultative status on the UN, or to the UN, as counselors on human rights. And they traffic people. They traffic children. They abuse children physically, mentally. All of it. It's horrible, the things they do. They abuse adults. I mean, there's nothing good about Scientology. There's nothing good about it. So, Scientology volunteer ministers, this is what plays back into the whole movement, into what's playing out from 1952, as reflected in episode 6 of this series, of all these different faith systems calling themselves some sort of volunteer ministers, missionaries, to gain this tax exempt status and this edge to wiggle in and mind control. But there's just so much more to it, including, Scientology at the UN. It is up to faith leaders to influence and make this one a better world during the 73rd year of the UDHR. which is the United Nations Human Rights Day. Let that sink in, please. Real quick, again, I've got links in the show notes to the following videos: Dazed but Not Confused, Doug Kramer, missed the guy, but L. Ron Hubbard's Occult Odyssey, Maitreya to Magician, or Magician, Aleister Crowley's Ideology and Scientology Ideology, a comparison. As you can see, the it's in there quite a ways into the whole program, but you'll understand why I wanted to go ahead and jump to that particular screen or that particular timestamp. Also, in the show notes will be the link to Brave New World, Aldous Huxley's Dianetics, and Scientology Exploration, again from Dazed But Not Confused. I miss Doug. So there's a real good breakdown here. You can see that the chart is fairly early in the video. It's a couple hours long. Again, this is why I'm not diving into it. Let's see. We've got over here, Dazed But Not Confused, Scientollywood. Doug, yeah, it's a good video. It's not very. It's only about a half hour long, but it's about his whole connection and experience with Hollywood through his Scientology experience. Oh, hang on. Okay, so I just had to play this. L. Ron Hubbard's take on George Orwell's 1984 and Black Reverse Dianetics.
Therefore, we really do have the remedy before the assault weapon is produced. Did you ever read poor old George Orwell's 1984? Yes, that's wonderful. That could be the palest imagined shadow of what a world would be like under the rule of the secret use of Scientology with no remedy in existence. It's all right in this offhand age to just brush things aside and say, well, it's of no importance, really. And let's not be dramatic the way people are being about the atom bomb. Actually, the atom bomb isn't as serious as this other. It's just a messed weapon. And it's all right to be very offhand and very cheerful and so on, and like the little boy whistling in the dark, says no ghosts or boogeymen exist. Well, this boogeyman does exist. It's a very simple remedy, and that's just make sure that the remedy is passed along. That's all. Don't hoard it. Don't hold it. And if you ever do use any black Dianetics, use it on the guy who pulled Scientology out of sight and made it so it wasn't available. Because he's the boy who would be electing himself the new order. We don't need any more new orders. All those orders, as far as I'm concerned, have been filled.
So up next, I want to make a real quick reference to this video over at Rage Against the Dark Arts. That's Miriam's channel. And then the other individual, that's Sterling Tompkin, and they're both ex-Scientologists. They were in the Sea Organization, or also known as the Sea Org, which is the area where most of the trafficking happens, apparently, within Scientology. And how they realized that the story 1984 actually described their very lives within Scientology, and is what helped them break the spell and helped them realize that they needed to escape. Oh, and by the way, this logo up here in the corner, SPTV, that's Suppressive Person Television. It's a network of ex-Scientologists and folks like me who are classified as never-ends. I was never a Scientologist, but I've been studying it to figure out how I can help get their tax exempt status revoked because that would free the children and free the slaves, free the people. So back to Serge Del Mar and his channel. Some other connections that I want to bring out are like his deep dive into Sciento moms, Marisol Nichols and Elena Cardone. Yeah, Elena Cardone is Grant Cardone's wife. And why am I concerned about Marisol Nichols? Well, it's because she's connected to Tim Ballard. You know, that Mormon guy that did the whole Operation Underground thing with Sound of Freedom and all that hocus pocus, not even addressing the abuses that are happening within the Mormon church. But anyway, moving right along real quick. There is also Oh No Nora. Again, link will be in the show notes. But apparently, Rebecca Minkoff is a Scientologist, born and raised, part of the Real Housewives of New York, according to the description. Again, link will be in the show notes. And on the way out of here, real quick, 23 Hollywood celebrities who currently worship at the altar of Scientology. This is dated October 2023. I'm going to try to provide some updates along the way. Let's see. Everybody knows Mr. John Travolta. Um, he might be on his way out. His status is unclear to me at the moment. And then we've got Catherine Bell, Army Wives alumni. Um, Elizabeth Moss, the Mad Men alum. Let's see, some Hollywood named connections here. Ann Archer, another actress, and yeah, we've got Marisol Nichols, who is actually apparently famous for riding around with LAPD the anti trafficking division. Oh boy, I would digress real quick on that. We got Tom Cruise, Danny and Christopher Masterson. Danny Masterson in prison for acting like Bill Cosby. Christopher Masterson, I believe he was on Malcolm in the Middle. Alana Masterson, Danny's sister, she was in one of the spin-offs from The Walking Dead. We got Michael Pena. We got Erica Christensen. Um, we got Marissa and Giovanna Ribisi. Yeah, a lot of Hollywood connections here. We got Jason Dohring. And yeah, I don't. Yeah, I've got to move right along. I got to move right along. Trying to wrap this up. Michelle Stafford. We got Nancy Cartwright. We got Jenna Elfman, the actress. We got Juliette Lewis. Yeah, well, she's got some weird connections, doesn't she? Ethan Suplee. We got Lindsay Bartleson also on the list. Bijou Phillips. Word has it that she has left Scientology with her children and is divorcing her former husband Danny Masterson, and apparently already has a beau. I don't know. I don't keep up with all the drama side of it. Doug E. Fresh, rapper and Scientologist. Oh yeah, Greta Van Susteren. She CBS news anchor. She did a stint with Fox News for a while, and is now working for Newsmax outlet, I do believe, if I remember correctly. Anyway, was that 23 names already? All right, cool. I'm good with that. Anyway, I hope that you learned something. If you got any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comment section. And if you like this, please subscribe if you haven't. Like, share, please share. I would love to get this information out everywhere. And don't forget, there's that work that Laura at Magical Mystery Church has been doing over there on her channel in reference to a bunch of mysticism and remote viewing and things like that within the New Apostolic Reformation and the modern Americanized church. And I'm hoping you're kind of seeing how this has been a long running plan, you know. Constance Cumbie was right. Constance Cumbie was right. It's a planned deception. At least I'm more than convinced at this point. I'm just going to keep bringing the information. Until next time, I hope that you stay healthy